Welcome to the Lindsay and Tony podcast, where we talk about spirituality, business, and life experiences.
In this podcast, we're bringing our private conversations to you.
We believe that it's through discussion, action, and reflection that true change occurs. Hello and welcome to episode 134, How to Have a Transformational 2021. Before I get into this episode, I want to remind you our 90-day business mastermind is coming up. So we're so excited for everyone that's already joined. Remember, there's only 5 members that are allowed to be in this mastermind. If you want to apply, go to lindsaymarino.com. Okay, so now about this episode, it's all about the key points that you can take to get ready so that you are prepared for 2021. We tell you all of the examples and share experiences on why it's so powerful to do this before you go into the new year. We hope you enjoy the show. Hi guys, welcome back. We're so excited that you're here. Today is all about how to have a transformational 2021. Isn't this an important time for that?
It definitely is an important time, and we're going to get into that and how powerful it is to not only look forward to 2021 and get clear about that, but also to look back at this year, even though probably a lot of people don't want to look back at this year because it's been a challenging year in so many ways.
Right, and I think that's important to think about. And before we start, I do want to say one quick thing. You never have to wait till January 1st to have goals and intentions and have a fresh start. We just think it's important to use the energy of January 1st, the buzz that's happening, to use it to your advantage. That's why we're talking about it too.
Exactly, because you could start a whole new year, a whole new life any day. Right. But I love the beginning of the year because as we talk a lot about in our podcast, we talk about the seasons. And for me, it's like a new season. Yes. It's a new fresh start. And I feel like a lot of people feel like that, to where it's a chance to transform your life in a different way than you did the year before, or maybe the decade before too. Exactly.
And when we reflect on the year before, we could reflect on things that they'd be considered bad things. I'm putting that in quotes if you're not seeing me on video, or the good things that have happened in the reflection. Now we're going to go into reflecting. So what can we reflect on from the year before?
Right. So one of the most powerful things you could do to have a transformational 2021 is reflection. As teachers, we were taught to reflect, right? When you're in college, when I went to USF, you were at UT.
You need to write paragraphs and papers on reflection.
Then they get annoying after a while. But looking back, I'm so thankful that I did that, because it taught me that you could reflect in so many ways. And the way that we were forced to reflect was by typing or writing it out. And there's times now to where I still do that. I'll write out all of my good things and bad things. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about reflecting and being brutally honest on this past year on not only the good, but also the bad. So meaning the things that you let yourself down in, the disciplines that you didn't have, that you intended to have January 1st, 2020.
Yeah. And sometimes we might think of them as bad in our human mind, but really it's a learning experience too. And I like to think of it as almost like you're an observer looking in at someone else's life, rather than, oh my gosh, I didn't do this. Like, I'm going to shame myself because I didn't do this, or I should have done this way. Because it's going to naturally come up. But if we observe it, like we're taking a peek at someone else's life, like, oh, they could have shifted this around, it feels different.
It does, exactly, because we're always taught not to judge other people, right? But don't judge yourself either in that way. So let's, like what Lindsay's saying, come from that space of, as an observer, like being honest, what was I good in? What was I bad in? Because what I find is a lot of people have blind spots. Actually, everybody has blind spots. We all do. No matter how much you work on them, you'll always have some blind spots. And over the years, what I realized, so for example, I used to look at it like a bad thing when maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, when I'd walk into a room and I'd be overwhelmed with energy. I'd always kind of shame myself, like, Tony, why aren't you social? Why can't you do this? I'd have all these things going on in my head, and I would be judging myself. And my point of saying that is, over the years, as I started to learn more and more about empaths, about myself, and about how I tap into other people's emotions, and I didn't even know it back then, I started to realize that my biggest pain that I thought that I was letting myself down in was actually my biggest gift. And I only was able to realize that through deep reflection and through learning over the years to be gentle with myself. Because a lot of the things that you struggled with in 2020, it might be the same thing as me walking into a room and feeling overwhelmed. It may not be what you think it is right now.
Right. And I think that's important to think about too. And then the other thing is also focusing in on, because the things that have come up in 2020 have been so extreme right now, how did you handle those situations? I think about like, how did I handle this situation? How could it have been tweaked a little bit different, And then when it comes to the things that you want to celebrate, like what golden nuggets came from 2020? There has to be something. Like, even though all the complaining that's online right now is like, oh, this is the worst year, I can't wait till 2021 comes. It's not really going to change anything if you have the same mindset.
Exactly.
Really.
And all of our podcast listeners know, they understand that in every difficulty, there's a seed of equivalent opportunity. We hear that over and over and over, and it is the truth if we look for it. And I think what Lindsay is saying to all of you and to me and to herself is to look for that. Look for that seed of opportunity. 2020, it's painful. There's people dying. There's all these different things going on. We got the election and all these other different things going on. And there's a blessing in that. There's a blessing in all of your negative circumstances.
Right. Think about the people, places, and things in your life that you could celebrate from what's happened previously, so that your focus can be tuned into that frequency so you can bring that into the following year.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You have to like really stop and freeze and think, okay, what am I grateful for in 2020 so that I can bring that to 2021? Because if you're only focused on like, oh, this is what's happening in the world, it's going to be the same thing.
Exactly. So the thing that you could do is you could think about, what are your top energy movers from 2020? Meaning, what are those top events, activities? Maybe you started working out and you never worked out before. Maybe you spoke in front of people, even if it was on Zoom and you never done that before. Whatever it was, what are those things that move the needle the most in your life, that move the energy to where you just felt transformed from that experience? And sometimes these, like we're talking about here, it could be a negative situation that done this, or it could be a positive. So go ahead and write those out. I find that writing things out is so powerful for me.
Yeah.
Even though I know this and I'm saying it right now, next week or maybe the week after, I'll forget this, but then I'll remember, and I won't feel like doing it, but I'll do it anyways, because I know that every single time I do it, I always feel way better afterwards. So even if you think it's monotonous and you're too smart for it, or maybe you don't feel like doing it, or it takes too much time, go ahead and write down your top energy movers. And also write down the things that you let yourself down in. Maybe the disciplines that you did not do. Maybe you wanted to start a workout plan and work out 5 days a week. You wrote that on your goal card January 1st, 2020. But if you look back, you only worked out 2 days a week. Write that down and then look to improve for the next year. Like Lindsay was saying at the beginning, don't write it down in a way to where you're shaming yourself, but feel the emotions that come up when you let yourself down on the disciplines that you know in your heart and your soul that you want to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. So let's go to the next one. The next one is intention. And this is an important one. I feel like in order for you to have things continue to come to you, you really do have to be aware. Because constantly, I was just talking to a friend, I don't even remember who it was, if it was you or someone else, that constantly we're having things fly by us. It's just, that's what's happening. Things are always around. You're not really manifesting new things. Like, these things are flying by every single one of us. But when someone has an intention and a focus, you start to gravitate, those things start to gravitate towards you, and you start to focus in on those things and you hone in on those things. I think the most confusing thing is being unclear with something in your life, or unclear in what you want, that causes things not to show up. That's my belief about it. So if we get a clear intention for 2021, like, what do I want out of 2021? Not like, what do I fear, then there's a different mindset. So for travel, you might think, oh, I really wanted to go to Europe, but I'm not going to go because 2021, we might not be able to travel. Well, instead of going down that road, focus on where you want to go. It really is about where you want to go.
Exactly. It's about where you want to go. It's about what do you want with your life? What do you want with your career? What do you want with your relationships? What do you want with your spirituality? All these different
Yeah.
things. And you're exactly right. The clarity is so powerful. That's why in Napoleon Hill, I bring this up a lot, but he talks about the most highly successful people. And he was more talking in business, but this applies across the board in relationships and everything, is they make decisions quickly. Why? Because they're so clear. They're so crystal clear about who they are. They took the time to reflect, like we talked about with key number one, and they know exactly what they want in 2021. They're absolutely clear. And also, a lot of times, you'll have this vision at the beginning of the year, and if you stay open to it and you be like water, like Bruce Lee always talks about, you kind of bend and throughout the year and you keep tuning into your soul, you keep reflecting, keep applying these principles, you'll find that a lot of times you'll end up doing things that you never even thought that you were going to do. So for example, I didn't think that we were going to do an online 90-day mastermind in 2020, but the pandemic hit and we were like, hey, how can we pivot here? And instead of complaining and saying, oh, the world's going to shit, business is hard, all these different things, because Lindsay and I, we like to do in-person events too. We can't do in-person events, all these different things. We're like water. We're like Bruce Lee, like he talks about a lot. Just be like water, be gentle, and obviously you're not going to be like this all the time. We have moments where we're pissed off over all these different things, but we go back to this and we start to bend with the universe, because the universe, I believe, is consistently communicating to you.
That's what I feel.
And the thing is a lot of times we'll think, what did you say?
What do people need? Like, it was speaking to us, like, this is what you need to do to serve your people. This is what people need. They need that connection.
Exactly, because I found in my experience, a lot of times I create these visions that were, looking back, it was part of my ego. When I came down to it, I didn't really want that. The world didn't really need it. And I had to bend a little bit. For example, when I first heard about the law of attraction when I was 21, I was like, I'm gonna become a multi-billionaire. Like, I'm gonna have all these different things. I'm gonna go here and here. And yeah, I still value high quality things. But as I started to grow, as I started to really ask that question every day, what do I want? Who am I? And the questions are so powerful. That's how you reflect, with powerful questions like that. And as I started to ask those and I started to reflect and I allowed them to settle, let the dust settle, I started to realize what I really wanted was not what I thought I wanted. And I feel like if you ask me next year, there's a few things that I believe I want in this moment that, looking back, like if we go to December 2021, I'll tell you I didn't really want that, because we all have blind spots. And I think it's so valuable to come from that humble space of knowing, yeah, I'm certain in this vision, but I also know I have blind spots, so I'm going to bend and I'm going to be like water all throughout 2020 or all throughout 2021.
Right. And the other thing is to really stay focused on what you want, not what it looks like to the outside world, what makes everyone else feel comfortable. I think that's a big thing. I think that's where you could really get in your own way, when you're overthinking what other people want for you, or you listen to the safety of what other people feel. And we've brought this up in a bunch of episodes, but it's something to think about right now. When you go into 2021, to really think for yourself, think intuitively. This means also what you're watching in the media, what you're paying attention to, what resonates within your actual soul, without that fear coming at you. Fear and intuition never work together, ever. So intuition cannot flow when fear is in place. So we're not in fear 24/7, but there's moments where you could be in a fear a lot of the time if you get into those conversations and you put on the news. So start really tuning into your soul now before you jump into that new year, so you can get clear on what you want.
Exactly. And so we're talking about the whole year. What do you want for the whole year? Well, when I work with my clients, I like to break it down in 90-day segments, because if you look over the next 25 years, I know a lot of you, most of you listening to this or watching this, you have a huge mission that will probably take your entire life and maybe other lifetimes past this to actually complete. But if you look over the next 25 years, the next 90 days is only 1% of that. So to get clear on your intention for 2021, I would also say to set out the first 90 days, and you could even do 90 days from right now. What are the top 1 to 3 things that if you do these, it's going to have the biggest shift in your life? So for example, it could be if you're not working out right now, if you really continue to do everything else you're already doing, but you implemented a 5-day a week or 3-day a week workout plan, if you're just starting out, that would be a huge impact booster for your life. Or say maybe you've been wanting to meditate because you have high anxiety and a lot of stress and you're an empath and you've taken so much energy and meditation will really help you. Maybe that could be an impact booster. So think about the top 1 to 3 things that if you do these, it could be in your business, relationships, or spirituality, they're gonna have the biggest impact on you over the next 90 days.
I love that. And also, you might have to, because me, in my mind, I'd be like, wait, I don't even know what I'm gonna do what is going to impact me. You might have to take it a step back and list out the things that like the outcomes that you want, and then go back and write those impact boosters, like those things that actually help, right?
Absolutely.
So if it's like, oh, I want to feel more energized, like you might not know that you need to work out. Normally, like someone like Tony, he knows that it gives him more energy. But if you ask me 5 years ago, I'd be like, no, that's going to drain my energy. So just listing, I want more energy, stuff will start coming to mind. Like, okay, I could eat better. I could take a walk or do these different things, but sometimes it doesn't come right away, so it is something to think about. All right, the last one. This is important, and it's forming a mastermind, whether it's paid or it's free. I feel like this is something that we always talk about. If you have 2 or more people with the same focus, magic will unfold.
Exactly.
Right?
I was just part of my mastermind this morning. One of my workout partners in the morning. I have different people that I'll work out with whatever city I'm in. I try to get people in each city as much as possible to where, hey, we'll meet at 5 a.m. and we're going to get a workout in. And what happens is we end up having powerful conversations too. And I look at that as one of my masterminds. I don't pay for that one. There's other masterminds that I do pay for. So the Knowledge Business Blueprint, it's actually a course to teach teachers or people that want to extract knowledge and share it with the world. I look at that as another mastermind. That's a paid one that I am in. And that helps me specifically in my business, to where the one this morning helps me specifically with my workout skills. I mean, with my body and my health and my well-being, but indirectly, everything affects everything else. So I also see how my mastermind from this morning actually starts to bleed into every part of my life. So think about what masterminds, who are the people that if you connect with them, they're going to take you closer to those goals that we talked about in step 2.
Exactly. So when you focus on your step 2, you remember that because I'm like, what is the order of these? With the intention, that once you get clear in your intention by yourself, that's when you're going to seek out the mastermind. You'll seek it out, or it will just kind of come into your vision. You're like, oh, that goes with my focus. So it might be the people that you're spending time with and you're working. Like, I know a lot of psychic mediums are listening to this. So being in spirit circles when you're practicing doing mediumship, that's a mastermind in itself. That community is coming together with the same focus to practice. There's other ones that are more intense, more intimate masterminds that are most likely going to be paid, but it doesn't have to be paid. Like the one that we have coming up, our 90-day mastermind, it's very targeted for people that have a business, that want to go to that next level, want to be seen a little bit more, want to impact the world a little bit more, want to have more money, a little bit more than what they have now. It's like these little baby steps that bring you to this quantum leap by being in that. So look for things that resonate with you. And really, it's about the people that are in it.
It definitely is.
You want people that are doing it.
It definitely is. So like you were talking about with our 90-day mastermind, it's all empaths that are in it. It's all, we have psychic mediums. Yeah. It's open to having, who else?
There's
different healers, breath workers, all these different things. And it's people that understand each other. We're empaths, so we understand all of the problems that other empaths are going through. And when you connect with certain people, like Lindsay's saying, this is a specific business mastermind, you connect with specific people like that, your whole life transforms just by having a conversation and sharing different viewpoints and perspectives and what's worked for you and what hasn't worked for you. I know a lot of times in these masterminds, I get the most out of it, even though I'm leading the mastermind.
know.
I'll get the most out of it by just hearing one of the mastermind attendees share one of their insights that work for them in their business or in their relationships,
Right.
because they understand me, their empaths as well. So I think it's so valuable to join with like-minded people with whatever that is. So another example would be Lindsay and I were actually in the works of putting together an Airbnb business, starting an Airbnb business. So what did we do? We joined an Airbnb group, and it's free. Have you not gotten so much value out of that?
So much. In the most value, you'd think that like, oh, it's just that. Seeing other people ask the same questions that I'm thinking, it's like, oh, I feel heard because they're asking the questions that I'm thinking about, and other people are answering those questions, and then they share the benefits. And instead of me going through the troubles of, for example, towels, finding the right towels that are perfect, they already went through the issues and the problems with maybe a towel that was pink. And
Right.
they say, well, we went through this, we tried it out, we spent the money and the time and energy to try to get this clean, but white towels work best, you
Right.
know, like just seeing. So it really cuts down the time, energy, and money and creates impact when you can get to the root and work with people that have already done it.
Exactly.
So it's a perfect example. So think about the people that you want to surround yourself with, whatever the mastermind is, whether it's a practice group or it's a business mastermind, paid or free. Really think about that and share with us. Have you found one that feels like a good fit? And then also the last thing that I want to bring up is if you are interested in our mastermind, it's very limited. There's only 5 people that are accepted into this mastermind. You can go to lindsaymarino.com and fill out the application, and we'll respond to you and see if you're a good fit. And we would love to have you if you are someone that resonates with the ideas that we have for that too.
Exactly. So number 1 was to reflect, be brutally honest on 2020, the good and the bad. Number 2 is get crystal clear in that intention. And number 3, like Lindsay was just talking about, start to form these strategic partnerships, aka masterminds, with people in your life that are going to bring you closer to your goals.
Yes. We hope you enjoy this episode, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.